Welcome to the Boomer Briefing Podcast, where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. I'm Jim Boomer, shareholder and CEO at BoomerConsulting, and I'm joined here today with my business partner, Sandra Wiley. She's also a shareholder and president here at BoomerConsulting. So great to have you, Sandra.
Thanks, Jim. It is good to be here, and I cannot wait to talk about this topic.
Yeah.
It is going to be transformational for a lot of the firms out there.
Yeah. And this is an area we both work pretty closely, or we both facilitate the transformation circle. Yep. So rather than a one-sided, I interview you or you interview me, I think what we talked about was we'll just kind of go back and forth and have some dialogue here. But, I think I'll let you kind of kick it off. I think you had a starter question that you had for me to begin.
I do. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about transformation from both CAS and overall business perspectives. So my first question, or our first question that we came up with, was we often hear when it comes to transformation that it is between CAS transformation and business transformation. Why are both of those so important for firms' success today?
Well, it's a great question. I'm going to start off by saying it's not so much about how they're different as it is about how they're related. They're so closely linked. And the reason we get this question is like business transformation is supposed to be the encompassing umbrella over all the major changes that your firm needs to implement to move the business model forward to support your future growth and success. And CAS transformation is really just one of the pieces that falls under that umbrella. And so when we talk about client accounting services, and often it's client accounting and advisory services transformation, as I said, that's one piece, but that piece is all about building the team and streamlining that service line through cloud technology, automation, and process improvement. It's leveraging technology, improving processes, basically to be more efficient and more effective in delivering those accounting services. So this is very important. I don't mean to minimize it by saying it's just a piece, but because it serves as a foundational building block to really the overall business transformation in that you're really creating capacity so that you can focus on shifting that overall business model for the future. So what are we talking about here with business model? It encompasses a lot that all of us need to address in our organization. So, for CPA firms, adding advisory services to your portfolio, being more proactive and forward looking with your client base, but also pricing and packaging, looking at how we lead, our approach to attracting, retaining, and developing talent, our growth strategy, compensation. I can go on and on and on. There's so much more, but it's business transformation is the big picture. I think I've heard you say, kind of the bird's eye view of the firm and its transformation to the future, whereas CAS transformation is kind of one area of that.
I completely agree with you. I think some people want to lump it into its own little category, and they don't look at it as being a part of the whole. And I think that's where some firms are kind of missing the mark, because our business models are changing. And so exactly what you just said, looking at that big picture and then looking at CAS as just one component of all. But that one component is super important, right? So could not agree with you more.
And honestly, the other thing I'll point out is I think the reason they're kind of interchanged in lingo often is because client accounting services is the area that probably is most nimble in being able to switch the tools that they use and the processes that they use, more so than some of the compliance-based services of tax and audit. So it makes sense, but the way we think about it is business transformation is so much more with that in one piece. So, Sandra, I'm gonna let you kick this one off, but what would you say are some of the first steps that a firm should take to start creating that positive momentum towards business transformation?
Well, we have met with a lot of really great firms that have really made huge progress in this area. And I think when I look at all of them and I tried to figure out like what is the thing that makes them special? Why are they getting so much momentum in this area? Mindset is the very first thing that comes to mind. They believed they could do it. They believed that it was a good thing and they did it. And so firm leaders, they have to think about how they're going to lead their firm in a different way. That's the other piece of this, besides just having a positive mindset about what they're moving toward. I would also say that they have firm leaders they believe that there's a different way to run their firm, and they are willing to really take the steps and make the effort to make that happen. I've seen a lot of them take a step back and look at the overall strategy for all areas of their firm and say, how could we be different to really protect our legacy going forward? How can we transform so that we have a firm that is still standing strong years from now? And, we've talked a lot, Jim, in our world and with our clients, and it all starts with creating a vision for the firm that includes all the pillars for the success of their firm. And we believe there are 5 pillars that really, really fit into that model. You've got to look at leadership. You've got to look at talent. You need to look at growth and how you're going to grow effectively, process improvement, and technology. And all of those things working together, creating that vision that will protect that legacy. I think that is huge. But just having a vision is not going to do it for you. So once you have that vision, then you have to build alignment. Those leadership people that are in your firm, and leadership not being a title, not just partners, not just managers, but leadership people that really see that vision and really get excited about it, really helping them to build that alignment and then cascading that throughout the entire firm so that everybody on the team has that same vision and they can almost quote it verbatim when anybody asks them about it. And then you take that vision and you take that alignment and you build your strategic plan. You train your team, you engage your peers, and then, as Jim Collins would say, keep that flywheel turning. And it is fun to watch. Once you get an exciting vision and a strategic plan that will help drive all of those things in your firm, to watch people get on board and watch them really get excited about what's happening and where you're going, that is magic. It's great. So all of this is having an eye on the future and creating a firm with really lofty goals. These are not little tiny steps. These are big goals that you can accomplish. And what would happen if you could transform the current transactional compliance service area into this powerhouse unit that had strong relationships with the best and the right fit clients and provided value through the technology they use, the conversations they have, and the menu of services that they offer? Think about the brilliance of that and think about how great that would feel about your firm and how you would almost get kind of a new start with everything that you're doing. The focus would be on strategy for the client, not simply checking a box and delivering financial statements. And, we do that well. And I'm not devaluing that, but there's so much more that can be so much more value and so much more fun if you just look at it a different way. So when I think about transformation and momentum, that's what I think about.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't have said it better. I don't have a lot to add. The only thing I'd say is I think people struggle with this being the first step because they think first step, they want something that's like in your face. I'm going to see the results immediately. And
Yeah.
This is the hard work that doesn't show the results until longer term. But this is also the key ingredient to slowing down, to go fast, and limit the amount of missteps that you have. So I'd agree 100% with the way you laid it out. And if anybody asked, even if you've started, I would say, and you skip these steps, I'd say go back and do that.
I would agree with you completely, because everyone has challenges and they have, they're going to fail. We always say fail forward. The reality is we know we're going to have to do that. But that would lead me to my next question, Jim, which is for you. What are some challenges or potential pitfalls that firms often face when they're trying to transform CAS and that overall business model?
Well, I think it builds on your last comments on the first steps. It's also one of the biggest challenges is alignment. So yeah, we can create a vision as a leadership group. Everybody can sit around the table and nod and say, yeah, I'm on board. But until push comes to shove and people actually have to personally change and their behavior has to change, that's when you see true alignment. So that alignment and that strong alignment has to start at the leadership level. And then, as you said earlier, Sandra, kind of cascade through the group or through the rest of the team. And, we have to recognize that it's not, change is hard. It's not easy. But it's a whole lot harder when either the leaders don't even talk the talk of buying in, or that they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. They have to really lead in a way that shows that they buy into the vision of the future. And when you have everybody on the same boat, rowing in the same way, it's truly a beautiful thing. And things that upset us tremendously aren't quite so bad when you're not going at it alone in a different direction and the forces are pulling an opposite direction. So, if you have a strong business transformation focus, the client accounting services transformation, that should also become part of that overall vision and strategic plan. And so those changes, while they're still a challenge and they're still hard, are going to be easier. As I said, you're all going the same way. You're all supporting each other, and that makes all the difference. But it is a challenge. It's the biggest one we see, and it's a big reason a lot of firms can't get off the starting line.
I can't agree more. And I guess, isn't it interesting that you're saying without saying it is collaboration, right? And collaboration happens when there's good communication and there is a strategy and there's a vision and all of that. It kind of all blends together. But I love that. And that rowing in the same direction, absolutely transformational.
Yeah. And you know what we're talking about? It all leads into like how your firm operates and the culture of the firm. And so transformation involves a significant amount of change and a significant amount of impact on those two things. So I'll let you kick this one off, Sandra, but how can firms manage and lead the impact on culture and operations effectively?
Yeah, I love talking about company culture and firm culture, but I also know how devastating it can be when your culture starts slipping. But one thing I love about everything that we're talking about today is that when you think about the changes that could affect company culture, it could be significant. But if done well with the right training, the support, the enthusiasm, the communication, the collaboration, all of that, the cultural changes will be super positive. Now, that doesn't mean your culture might not change just a little bit. I oftentimes say that culture is, absolute for who you are. But over time, because of new knowledge or new things that we learn about, it can change. So there's always a little bit of gray area that can maybe tweak your culture a little bit. I think that what we're talking about here, this shows that the firm is moving toward a really positive future, and it's really bright. And people that want to be a part of that and people that dive into that and want to be a part of that bright and amazing culture, they're the ones that will take you there. They're the ones that will help get you there. So I think it does go back to alignment, which we discussed earlier. If you have to put the hard work in up front to paint that picture of where the firm is headed, and then answer the questions effectively of, why do we need this change? Why will this be better for us? You're going to start seeing both your leadership group and the rest of your team that they're going to really buy into it and support it. And what's really fun is that a lot of times once they've bought into it, they support it, they're looking for how to make it better. Some of those great innovation ideas on both the overall transformation of your firm and the CAS part of that, you're going to start seeing a lot of people come to the table with new ideas, new ways of getting things done. So it's not just about telling them and have them follow you. It's helping them to understand it, painting that picture, and then letting them be a part of that future that they're building for all of you, for them personally and for the firm. When this is the case, those challenging changes that can come up, no question, they're not seen as so negative anymore. They really don't have that negative impact on the culture that maybe we've seen in the past. Often it solidifies and strengthens that culture. And that is pretty exciting and pretty fun to watch. So when people are working toward the same goals, working as a team, collaborating, and they're moving toward that vision, it's amazing how much less those painful changes hurt at both the individual and the team level. And there's a lot more fun, excitement, and positive feelings that come out of that.
I agree. A tremendous amount of energy. You see it, and it builds upon itself.
Yeah.
And so, just in the interest of time, I think we were going to do this as Q&A, but I think we'll kind of wrap up here. The question I was going to ask you, I think we worked together and talked together about this topic so much, we would have answered it exactly the same way, and I think we would have been somewhat redundant. So I'm going to frame it more as a recap of, if you're navigating these complex processes and changes and pushback and getting alignment, again, the place to start and where we see firms be successful is go back to the starting line and start with that vision, including answering those why questions that you mentioned, Sandra. Then build your strategic plan for the year that it's not going to get you all the way to that vision in 1 year, but it's going to take you headed, and it's going to create that positive momentum. And that really should include client accounting and advisory services as part of that. You also need to create a communication plan to include every person in the firm and communicate early and often. This is another place where a lot of leaders fall down, is they do the first steps and then they don't go tell anybody beyond the leadership group. And you've hired this amazing team and you're investing in them, and they could help you get there and get there a lot faster if they just knew, what are we trying to achieve? And so that's the other one. And then I think we've mentioned it, and many of our listeners have probably heard us say, don't try to do it with the knowledge that is just within your own four walls. Engage a peer group and prepare for this process to be a little messy. And when you build a peer network and trusted resources that you can go to in a pinch, it makes it a lot easier, much like we were talking about when your team's all going in the right direction. So, so Sandra, thank you. This was awesome, as always. And it's great to hear your insights and just sit down and have a conversation for 20 minutes. So
thank you so much, Jim.
You bet. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, we do release new episodes every Tuesday morning, covering topics on technology, leadership, process, talent, and growth. What all the topics have in common is they are crucial to your firm's success and helping you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. So if you like what you heard, please subscribe, and thank you so much for listening.